Hi, welcome back. This is part of a series of videos on firearm basics for self-defense. This is part 7A where we're talking about belts. If you haven't gone and seen the earlier videos, please pause this, go back and watch video 1 where we talk about safety. It's the most important video in this series. Okay, you're still here, so I'm assuming you've already watched that. Now, I already talked about holsters, but if you're using a belt holster, like something along your waistband, the actual belt you use is a really big deal. It's probably as important, if not more important, than the holster you're using. What you'll see a lot of belts, and this is one, I think this is from Walmart, one of my wife's belts. Most belts are made out of a single piece of leather, or in this case, fake leather, and they aren't particularly rigid. So if you're hanging a 2-pound gun off this, with the holster and ammo, it's probably going to be about 2 pounds. It's going to be very floppy, and you'll have to pull it really tight to get it to stay around your waist. And that's frankly just uncomfortable, and you'll probably stop doing it very soon. So let's just quickly demonstrate. This is just an empty holster. I don't even need a gun to show the problems with this. Okay, holster is on the belt, and if I just grab the belt there, you can see it's like I'm holding the belt vertically and it just flops right over with that tiny little bit of weight. Now, if you compare that, we're going to use the Beltman belt here. This is a Beltman brand belt. This is made of 2 layers of leather stitched together with a synthetic reinforcing piece between those 2 layers to give it extra strength. And if we just do the same trick, this is I think an 1.25" belt that I used to use with a suit. And we're just attaching the same holster to it and grab it, and you can see there's much less deflection. It's going to basically support the weight much better than the single piece of fake leather. And just for another piece to show you, this is a CompTac belt. This is also 2 layers of leather with a synthetic reinforcing piece. If you look at the inside of the leather, though, you can actually see like this synthetic piece comes to about where my finger is, and it's stitched in on the inside. And if we do the same trick, attach holster, it holds it reasonably well. This is actually a little bit thicker belt, so it holds it a little better than the Beltman I just showed. But like a solid belt will cost you somewhere between $50 and $100, but it will be so much better at supporting your gun. It's absolutely worth it. One other thing worth noting, this belt is somewhere around 14 years old and has been worn almost daily for those 14 years. Occasionally you'll see belts that are made out of nylon fiber, used to be made out of scuba suits. You really don't need any of that or the fancy buckles. Like this does not look unusual when you're wearing it with a pair of jeans. As I said, I've been wearing this every day, whether I'm carrying a gun or not, for the last 15 years and have had no issues with this whatsoever, though obviously it's a little beat up. And it's still pretty stiff. So you don't need anything that looks weird, but if you're going to be using a belt holster, get a good belt. And at this point, both Beltman and CompTac are brands I would highly recommend for making good belts. Generally, you want to get a belt from the same manufacturer that you got your holster from, but it's not 100% required. One thing to be aware of when you buy a holster that uses belt clips, these will be a specific size for a specific belt. So if you get your belt and your holster from the same manufacturer, you generally don't have any fitment issues. Like if this is designed for a 1.5" belt, and if you clip it on, the holster is designed for a 1.5" belt. If I clip it down on this, which is a 1.25", you can see there's gaps in there. And since this is supposed to be an inside the waistband holster, that does kind of stand out. So when you're buying your belt, you kind of need to make sure it matches your holster. Also, you want to be aware that this is going to be a very thick material. Like in this one, of course I fumble it. Like, take a look at how thick that is. Because right here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 layers of leather right there. So you kind of need pants that will also be able to allow that much material to fit through the belt loops. I found most jeans, it's not an issue. With suits, it's mostly not an issue, but you'll probably want a thinner belt that's going to not bump out as much. This one, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is only 6 layers of leather right there at the thickest point. But it still works fine for supporting the gun. Whatever you decide to go with though, if you are carrying around your waistband, make sure you get a good quality belt.